When Frodo escapes Boromir using the One Ring, he flees to the top of a hill and finds there an ancient seat surrounded by a battlement. Upon sitting on this seat, he is granted visions of far-off places, of Rohan to the west, Mirkwood to the north, Rhûn to the east, and Harad to the south. This place is Amon Hen, and just across the lake of Nin Hithoel was its sister hill of Amon Lor. So in this video, we discuss what the purpose of these places were they magical in nature, and why did Frodo have this vision? As per usual, let's start with what we do know. Amon Hen, the Hill of Sight, and Amon Lor, the Hill of Hearing, were located in the hills known as Emyn Muil, Amon Hen on the west side of the Anduin and Amon Lor on the east side. Other details are scarce. Tolkien believes that Amon Hen was probably no taller than 1,000 feet, or 300 meters. Despite that, one could get a pretty good view of the surrounding land, especially to the east and south, as one could look down over the massive falls of Rauros. But these weren't just regular hills. As Aragorn tells us, in the time of great kings, seats were built upon both Amon Hen and Amon Lor, and from them watch was kept upon the surrounding lands. A common theory is that both seats may have been built during the regency of King Minalcar, later Remendikil II, as he was the one who built the two great statues known as the Argonath, only a little to the north. It would make sense that alongside the Argonath, he constructed watch posts that could keep an eye on both sides of the river. Although, as with many places, both hills were abandoned by the time of the War of the Ring. We don't actually get to see Amon Lor, but from Frodo's ring-affected vision, we get a decent description of Amon Hen. It's a circular, ruined battlement, and within, there is a seat and platform situated atop 4 pillars with many stairs leading to the top. Honestly, kind of unremarkable. As far as watch posts go, it clearly wasn't a big one. It certainly didn't serve as a fortress or anything. But what makes Amon Hen interesting is when Frodo sits atop this high seat and gazes out upon the surrounding lands. At first he sees nothing, but then he starts seeing clear visions of the surrounding lands. He can see Easterling armies mustering upon the plains of Rhûn. He can see horsemen on the fields of Rohan and wolves pouring out of Isengard. He can see ships sailing out of the havens of Harad. He can see fighting going on beneath the trees of Mirkwood and orcs pouring out of the Misty Mountains. And finally, he can see Barad-dûr and the Sleepless Eye within it. And in a tense confrontation, Sauron seems aware that someone is looking at him and searches back, his gaze narrowly missing Frodo because he gets down from the seat and removes the One Ring. Notably, there's a second voice warning Frodo to take off the ring just before Sauron finds him. It's Gandalf, but what this seems to imply is that Amon Hen could act like a two-way telescope. Frodo could see more, but it also made him more visible to those with the power to find him, or, once again, it could have been the One Ring causing this. The plot thickens shortly afterwards. While searching for Frodo, Aragorn decides that he also wishes to sit down atop Amon Hen, but unlike Frodo, he doesn't see anything. The sun is described as being darkened, and the world is dim and remote. He sits a short while, and is then forced to leave when he hears the sounds of orcs, followed by a blast from the Horn of Gondor. What makes this all the more interesting is that in Tolkien's earlier drafts, he actually had Aragorn see things from atop the seat as well, but he disliked the repetition of having two characters see things one after the other, and changed it. Christopher doesn't actually know why his father changed this, so we can't really use it to advance any theory other than to say that, at least at some point, anyone, or at least people of stature like Frodo and Aragorn, could use the Seat of Seeing to, well, see things. So the obvious question is, what's up with the Seat of Seeing? Is it magical, or isn't it? What immediately makes this all murky is that when Frodo sat atop the Seat of Seeing, he was wearing the One Ring. Now, the One Ring has an arsenal of magical properties, but while wearing it, the waking world is actually more difficult to see, so it shouldn't actually help, right? Well, not necessarily, because when Frodo is in Lothlorien, he notices Galadriel's Ring of Power, whereas Sam does not. Galadriel actually remarks to Frodo that his sight has grown keener. This doesn't mean the One Ring gives you super enhanced vision at every moment. Perhaps in certain circumstances, its power can give you the ability to see things that would normally be imperceptible. So does this just mean that Frodo was able to see everything because of the One Ring, and that the Seat of Seeing is just a regular seat, albeit with a height advantage? Well, not necessarily either. Sure, Aragorn doesn't see anything when using the seat in the final version, which is odd. You'd think as both the heir of Isildur and Anarion, Aragorn would be attuned to the seat much like he was attuned to the Palantir. But the reason why Aragorn might not have seen anything is because of outside interference. Remember, Sauron's gaze was literally passing over Amon Hen only moments before. When Frodo takes off the One Ring, he sees a physical shadow, although it dissipates, and later, when Aragorn is on the seat, the world seems dimmer than usual, so perhaps Aragorn couldn't see anything because Sauron's shadow made it impossible to see anything. You might be thinking, well, hold on, this is all speculation. There's still nothing that indicates that the Seat of Seeing had any special properties apart from when Frodo was up there while wearing the One Ring. To that, I would say that we have several examples of the Númenóreans and their descendants building places that were associated with increased vision. In Númenor itself, we had Tar Mineldir's watchtower which he used to observe the stars. Okay, an observatory, nothing too crazy. But later, we also have Tar Minastir's tower that was built atop the hill of Oromet on Númenor, which both he and later Tar Palantir used to gaze westward, hoping to see as far as Tol Eressëa off the coast of Valinor. In Middle-earth, Elendil also built the towers of Elostirion, which were also used to gaze westward, and one of which contained a Palantir. All that being said, I will yield the fact that none of these places are explicitly said to have been magical in nature, but there is a common trend with the Númenóreans and their descendants building absurdly large towers wherever they went, which suggests that they could actually use them in the same way Frodo used the Seat of Seeing. When it comes to Amon Hen and Amon Lâ, they're already elevated positions, so instead of building towers, it's possible that the Gondorians built the seats as something equivalent to a magical focal point, a way for them to focus their gaze. Another possible theory is that the seats aren't actually magical, but the hills themselves are, possibly because they were blessed by the Valar at some point. This was well within the power of the Valar. For example, Númenor was a blessed isle that was shielded from the same decay that affected the rest of Arda outside Valinor. In Beleriand, the pools of Ivrin were reportedly blessed by Ulmo, and drinking from them could seemingly cure madness, and the mountain of Caradhras above Moria, raised by Morgoth, seemingly had something of a will of its own, and could make passage difficult or impossible for travellers. So it's possible that Amon Hen and Amon Lâ were blessed in the same sense, which could be considered weird as they seem rather unremarkable hills, but in the middle of Nen Hithoel, the lake between the two hills, is another peak known as Tol Brandir. It's sheer on all sides, and apparently the top has never been reached by man or beast. But there are a lot of birds. And who are birds associated with? Manwë, of course. And which of the Valar has the best sight and the best hearing? Also Manwë. What this means is that the Gondorians, upon properly scouting Amon Hen and Amon Lâ, maybe realised that both peaks were either blessed or attuned to Manwë, and realised that they could build watchposts there to help them better watch the surrounding lands. Of course, this is all speculation, and like many other things, Tolkien never really properly explained Amon Hen and Amon Lâ. It's possible that neither sight was magical at all, and that Frodo only saw what he saw thanks to the One Ring. This is supported by Aragorn not seeing anything. It's possible that both sites were magical, either because the Gondorians built them that way, or that the locations were already magical thanks to some interaction from the Valar, most probably Manwë. At least at one point, Tolkien had Aragorn see things as well, confirming that you didn't need the One Ring to see anything. But if we knew the truth of the matter, this wouldn't be a Middle-earth Mysteries video. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it or at least found it interesting. This video was actually suggested to me by one of my longtime subscribers, Saya Garapan. That was originally back in May, but I was travelling at the time so I had a backlog of stuff to do. It's now 3 months later, but the video is finally here. I hope you're satisfied with some of the possible explanations. But for real guys, I'm running out of mysteries, so like Saya, feel free to suggest some. Cheers, farewell, and remember, the seats of seeing and hearing are important, but nothing is more important than the seat of feeling.